see this woman's a nun?
Thank you for clicking on this review. I just got back from watching Sydney Sweeney's latest horror movie, Immaculate. And with Immaculate, we follow a nun by the name of Cecilia who goes to Italy to join a new covenant. Everything seems to be going nice and dandy. She's fitting in well until out of nowhere, supernatural and weird things begin to happen to her. From here, Cecilia must uncover the truth behind her covenant and what's really going on. And that's all pretty much. Not any spoilers, you guys. This will be a spoiler-free review. Sydney Sweeney as a nun. You bought a ticket to this. I know what kind of man you are. But jokes aside, I'll be completely honest with you guys. I had no interest to see this. The trailers did not wow me. If anything, I kind of hate these kind of horror movies. A main character who's a nun, a main setting within a cathedral, religious tones and themes. I'm just like, oh, dude, anytime I go into a horror movie like that, bored. Sorry if that's a limited mindset or whatnot, but I'm always honest with you guys. So even though Sydney Sweeney was there and true Sydney Sweeney patriot, I still wasn't really looking forward to seeing this movie. So expectations were pretty low. Got to see the movie. I love when I go into a movie not expecting to enjoy it, and it's great. Now, don't get me wrong, it was great for me, and I actually enjoyed a lot of what this movie offered, but I think it will be a bit divisive. For one, I kind of want to praise the marketing and just the way this movie was being displayed, because it did seem like a supernatural paranormal movie with a nun set within a covenant, which could be interesting for some people, not really for me, but the movie's not really about that, because what it was actually about and some of the twists and turns this movie takes won me over big time. I thought Sydney Sweeney played the role really well. She was interesting to follow. She's given a nice backstory and she feels out of place. She goes to Italy not knowing the language, but wants to be part of something bigger. And in fact, even doing some research on the movie beforehand, it doesn't seem like this was just a random movie Sydney Sweeney chose. She apparently had been trying to make this movie for years. It was a big passion project of hers until she finally could acquire the script, help produce it, and release it. So this is something Sydney Sweeney has been wanting to make for a while, and now that I got to see it, I understand why. I was also pleasantly surprised with the amount of like gore and kills in here. I'm not gonna say there was a lot of them or even that they went really over the top, but it was a little bit more bloodier than I was expecting. It's rated R, so it will show you broken bones, things happening to the human body, even some grotesque effects. Not a lot of it, but there's enough sprinkled throughout to make it enticing for a horror fan. I was even a fan of the pacing. It might be a little slow for some, but the mystery of her uncovering what's going on, why is this happening to her, the little things that get revealed along the way, it helped me keep my attention on the screen at all times. I didn't get bored like I thought I would. In fact, I found myself really invested in Sydney Sweeney's character of Cecilia and wanting her to survive whatever mess she was put in. And you know, even jumping into like the negatives on the movie, the things I just want to caution some people and just be made aware of, I don't even think are negatives on my part. If anything, that's the stuff I most enjoyed in this movie. But I think it's still worth bringing up. So there's a big theme in this movie about religion, obviously. And some of the commentary side of that really spoke to me and I was able to connect with it. You know, I was raised Catholic, and growing up, a large part of that was things just being forced onto you whether you liked it or not, having to go to mass, having to go to these retreats, doing all this kind of stuff, and it's like just something that can so turn you off to religion or even anything spiritual. And towards the midpoint of this movie where you start to find out what's actually going on and the little twist in here, you just really see that shine through, this rejection of religion, this defiance of what you believe in. And I don't know, I just found that really cool, but I think some people would find it really disrespectful because not all of it is handled in a tasteful way. Just to give you an idea, there's a scene in here where a priest gets strangled to death with a rosary, and through the context of the movie and everything going on, I was cheering and clapping at that moment. I was very happy with it, but imagery like that might piss off some people. But when the movie takes that leap to let you know what's really going on and what's happening here, it might be cheesy, dumb, or people be like, oh, that's what's really going on. It's not like a high art A24 type level of reveal. No, if anything, I feel like it brings the movie down back to like a B-level horror movie, but I liked that. I was intrigued by the idea, and I felt like I hadn't really seen that done anywhere else. But my biggest problem with that is once you introduce that idea, and then things start going south and all that kind of stuff, it feels like there was just so far they could take it, when I feel like you should have been able to do more. And even the very last 30-40 seconds of this movie, I'm iffy on. I don't know if I really dug that ending specifically. It's like, I understand why the ending went down that route, but I mean, to me, that's like just when it was getting juicy. I would have liked a couple more scenes after that. But I think your enjoyment of the movie is really going to depend on how you take that little reveal and what's actually going on in here. It's the main thing that's going to make the movie divisive to you. For me, it absolutely worked and I connected with it in a weird way, but I think there's going to be some other people that are like, that was really stupid. I don't get why they did that. And I guess even on that part, to play devil's advocate to the people who aren't going to enjoy this movie, it's also the kind of reveal and twist, like when you find out what's really going on, you start thinking back on like, okay, I get that and I understand why they would want to do that, but then why were they doing all this other messed up stuff? That feels like it shouldn't really connect. That feels like they're just crazy. And yeah, it's not perfect. It's got its holes. It's weird, but like, I dug it. Especially with the things Sydney Sweeney does towards the end of the movie. I was like, I could have watched 20 more minutes of her just doing that to more people throughout the movie. So when it comes to Immaculate, I'm gonna give action 2 stars. It's a slow pace, kind of a build up. Most of the action happens in the last 20-15 minutes, but I think there's enough horrific things that are sprinkled throughout for you to stay engaged. Comedy in the movie, I'll give 1 star too. There's not a lot of humor thrown in here. There's one joke or two or like a horrific thing that kind of is funny in a twisted way, but this isn't a movie you're gonna be laughing at very much. Drama in the movie, I'm gonna give it 3.5 stars. I really liked the reveal, the twist, the explanation of what they were actually doing in there. I just wish they took it a step further. It seems like they got to that interesting idea, but I would have liked to have seen that explored a little more instead of just the shock value of the reveal being the entire basis of the movie. Horror in the movie, I'll give 3 stars. There's like 2 or 3 jump scares in the movie, but most of the time it's just you scared with these people forcing you to do something, keeping you trapped in this one location, the messed up stuff they do to Sydney. And suspense the movie, I'm gonna give it 3.5 stars. I feel like there was some really suspenseful moments in here. There's one car ride in particular where Sydney Sweeney's inside the car, and that moment my heart was racing, elevated, going, yes, please, come on, go. Casual moviegoers, I'm gonna give it a C+. I just think there's a little too slow paced, and some of the offensive things attached to religion in here is going to turn general people off. Cinephiles, I'm going to give it a B-. I think there's enough gory, creepy things in here for you to be invested, and I think cinephiles will be the ones to appreciate the twist more. And critically, I'm going to give it a B-. For me personally, I really ended up liking this movie, and that says a lot when these type of films are just not my cup of tea at all, and I was thinking I was going to be bored with this thing, so I think it's worth watching in theaters. Pleasantly surprised with this one. I hope Sydney Sweeney does a lot more horror movies because I feel like she's definitely got the lung power for it. But I'd love to hear from you guys whether you liked or hated Immaculate, especially if you did hate Immaculate. I'm curious to know what you thought about the review. Anything, everything, be sure to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.